Hey folks, this is Rhykker with a gaming news wrap-up video where we discuss the happenings of the week.
In this week's news, Activision Blizzard loses its chief financial officer. Also in the news, Blizzard Entertainment loses its chief financial officer.
What? Yep, that's right, 2 CFOs have left Activision Blizzard within the last week. We're going to talk about all that as well as some other news stories, and as usual, timestamps can be found in the video description. And right before we dive in, just a reminder to ring the sub-notification bell to be alerted of new Saturday episodes. Now diving right into our first story, Overwatch rang in the new year by punishing thousands of players. Yes, on January 2nd on the South Korean forums for Overwatch, Blizzard named and shamed over 18,000 players that it was punishing. And all these players were allegedly guilty of some form of toxicity-related infraction. We're talking about throwing games, going AFK, bad language, and harassment. And punishments ran the gamut from being banned to being suspended to other forms of punishment. South Korean Overwatch players posting on the Battle.net forums, as translated by Google, had the following to say about the 18,000 plus punishments. Lupine said, "2 of my children reported that they ate the preparation." Holy Park added, "You're right, right? I cannot tell you how many times I've seen a 70-year-old movie." Hans Salem said, "Non-affiliate users continue a lot of sanctions." But some users were not happy, including Catfish on a River, who said, "Do not bite me, just fold it down and you're stupid." But perhaps the person who gave us the most to reflect on was Lay, and his insightful comment, "Is not it too sad? I want to sort it out. I just put it without thinking. Let's think about." Let's think about indeed, Lay. Let's think about indeed. On to some Path of Exile news. Now, Steam wrapped up 2018 by putting up the Best of 2018 page, as it usually does. Well, it's not usually 2018, but you get the idea. It's a look back on the top sellers, most played, and new releases of the year. And Path of Exile hit strongly in 2 categories: top sellers of 2018, as well as most simultaneous players. Path of Exile is one of only 10 games on Steam to have over 100,000 concurrent players. And it was also in the gold tier for top earners, compared to last year where it was silver tier. And to put that in perspective, gold tier means it's within the top 24 earners across 2018. Now, Path of Exile first officially released in 2013, and since then it's been a slow burn upward in popularity for the game. It's received constant improvement and new content since then, and I certainly hope to see its success just continue to rise. On to Blizzard news. Activision Blizzard Chief Financial Officer Spencer Neumann was fired. While no specific reason was disclosed, it was allegedly, quote, unrelated to the company's financial reporting or disclosure controls and procedures. And that's just fancy talk to let the shareholders know, don't worry, he did not do anything illegal, he didn't fake any numbers in the books or anything like that. Before being fired, he was put on a paid leave of absence because apparently the close to $10 million that he made throughout 2018 working for Activision Blizzard wasn't enough. Now, what's unusual here is the firing rather than allowing him to simply resign. Particularly someone in as high a position as CFO, it sort of looks better for everyone if it's a resignation rather than a firing. Well, it later emerged that Spencer Neumann was actually being poached by Netflix to become their CFO. Suddenly things start to make a little more sense, and a source told CNBC that Neumann's termination was indeed a result of him pursuing another job. So as much as it seems like a juicy, dramatic story that he was fired because of the company's recent downturn in profitability, or perhaps even due to some form of dramatic uprise in reestablishing the heart of what Blizzard once was, focusing on games first rather than money first. This is actually a pretty unexciting story. However, it does become a lot more interesting once we add in the new story that emerged later this week. Amrita Ahuja, the CFO at Blizzard specifically, rather than as a whole Activision Blizzard, left this week, poached by Square Enix. So a story of one CFO leaving, but now 2 CFOs leaving in 1 week? Now we got a juicy story. Also, Amrita is the one who's likely to have had a bigger impact on the recent headlines surrounding Blizzard. If you'll remember, Amrita Ahuja became CFO at Blizzard back in March 2018. And this was after being at Activision Blizzard for 8 years, with her previous position being Senior VP of Investing. And allegedly, she's been the one responsible for the cost-cutting at Blizzard. A few weeks ago, we discussed an article written by Jason Schreier, where he spoke to a bunch of former and current Blizzard employees anonymously, and they leaked a bunch of information to him. And to quote from this article again, we covered the full article in a video if you want to check that out. In the spring of 2018, during Blizzard's annual company-wide battle plan meeting, Chief Financial Officer Amrita Ahuja spoke to all of the staff, according to two people who were there. In what came as a surprise to many, she told Blizzard that one of the company's goals for the coming year was to save money. Quote, "This is the first year we've heard a priority being cutting costs and trying not to spend as much," said one person who was in the meeting. It was presented as, "Don't spend money where it isn't necessary." Ahuja was new to Blizzard, having started as CFO that spring as a transplant from Activision headquarters, where she'd spent 8 years working in the finance and investor relations departments. There was a perception among Blizzard staff that she had come in to clean up the spreadsheets, to save as much money as possible, while at the same time bolstering Blizzard's product output. Given the recent news of Heroes of the Storm's esports scene being given the axe by Blizzard, Ahuja's work is pretty clear. Again, though, this isn't some form of dramatic uprise story. She left, it's not that she was fired. But it does raise the question, when two CFOs, the people in charge of the finances, leave a company for presumably greener pastures, is that indicative of the expectations of where this company might be headed? As much as some people would love to see this as ding dong, the witch is dead, now Blizzard could go back to being what it once was, given she was put in place by Activision, it wouldn't surprise me if Activision just replaced her with someone else who'll be just as brutal. But the optimist in me says we'll just have to wait and see. On to Diablo news. Diablo 1 celebrated its 22nd anniversary on December 31st. For those who are not aware, that's why we have the Darkening of Tristram event in Diablo 3. That sort of mini Diablo 1 remake in Diablo 3. It's an event that runs throughout the month of January. The portal officially opened up on January 3rd, and it'll close on January 31st. And if you're not familiar with the Darkening of Tristram event, I encourage you to check it out in my video here. Now, in honor of Diablo 1's 22nd birthday, I figured we can look back on one of the first trailers for Diablo 1, showcasing some alpha gameplay, but more importantly to me, really showing the atmosphere of Diablo. Let's have a look.
What force wrought this destruction? Mother, father, slain as they sleep. The town has the stench of death and demons upon it. By their souls, I swear vengeance on these creatures of the underworld. Diablo, enter if you dare.
As you can see right from the start, this is a dark, unsettling, horror vibe type of game. The hanging bodies, the corpses, the soundscape that is just very unnerving. It's something the series has definitely strayed from. And in other Diablo news, Imperius, the Archangel of Valor from Diablo 3's and Diablo's Angiris Council, is the newest hero coming to Heroes of the Storm. Insert the usual joke about how Heroes of the Storm gets more Diablo content than Diablo 3 does, ha ha ha. And also in Heroes of the Storm, allegedly data mined by Reddit user Phoenix, who appears to have had legitimate data mines in the past. This was found in the Heroes of the Storm game files, some form of Diablo phone. He said that the file doesn't have any name to it. And while this may seem like a cruel joke today, this was likely developed months ago, given Blizzard's very long development pipeline, presumably in a time before Blizzard thought there would be the backlash that there was upon the reveal of Diablo Immortal. And that's going to wrap up this week's video. But do leave a comment with your thoughts on any and every story that we've covered. And if you have an idea for a story you'd like to see me cover in a future episode, feel free to post it on the subreddit. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch and Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider becoming a Royal Raider on Patreon, where your support is immensely appreciated. We've got a variety of backer rewards, including behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more gaming content.